Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DSP versus the Internet, episode 46 for January 7th, 2024. First new React show of the new year. So far, we've been having a great time with a good variety of submissions this week. And part 5 of every week, super supporters of this channel, that's super members, get a chance to ask me a few Q&A questions, and sometimes we don't have any. This week, we actually have 2 different questions queued up. So let's go ahead and jump in. First question is actually from Slayer. You'll know why I said that in a minute. His question is incredibly themed towards his video from a few weeks ago. He says the following: I just wanted to ask, after watching that video on the Singapore laws a few weeks ago, and then he had actually sent me a little bit of an email with a little bit more clarification about how Singaporean law works. What are my thoughts afterwards on Singaporean laws? Now, if you didn't see the show from a few weeks ago, basically it outlined how strict Singaporean law is. That if you simply litter and you get caught, you can get arrested and get a huge fine. If you deface property, you could have corporal punishment. If you are into drugs and you actually sell drugs, you could be executed. All right? That was actually one of the things that outright said in the video. You could be killed for involvement with drugs, okay? So after having watched that video, it sparked a bunch of debate in the chat. Some people were saying, wow, Singapore laws are really, really strict, and they're overly strict, and it's too strict, and that's ridiculous. It's like draconian, and it's too controlling. And then other people were like, wow, well, those laws actually stop the crime. Take a look at Singapore, where crime is at a really low, and you don't really have recurring criminals at all. It really reinforces the fact that the stricter you get, the less crime you have. But I guess the debate we had was, at what price are you willing to sacrifice your levels of personal freedom in order to have control over crime? Because I think ultimately that's the discussion in the discourse. You know, if you are living in a whole society where every single thing you do is micromanaged and you're under the control of the ruling thumb of this government class who tells you, you could do this at this time, you could do this at this time, you can't do this then, you can't do this then, what kind of life is that? Is it worth it to sacrifice some of our personal freedoms in order to have better life with less crime, right? And just so you guys know, Slayer had actually sent me an email after the fact, after we watched that video, explaining it's not as overly controlling as the video portrayed. For example, for drug offenses. No, just because you are doing drugs or selling drugs, you're not executed. That's for like the most heinous of people who are running the drug rings and things like that. Essentially, anytime you're accused of a crime, there's an investigation. There's, you know, they have to prove that you're doing what you're accused of. There are levels. Like, one of the things we had talked about was, what if you're walking down the street, right? And you accidentally trip and knock into a statue and the statue topples over. Well, technically you defaced the property, but it wasn't intentional. It was a complete and utter accident. Are you going to be prosecuted for that? Well, according to what Slayer says, there'd be an investigation. Yeah, you'd definitely be arrested and there'd be an investigation, but if they could clear you of the charges, then, you know, you're not going to be held accountable for that. So I think, honestly, it's a matter of perspective. If you're an American like me, and you just think, man, if I just littered on the street, a cop could grab me and arrest me and throw me in a car and incarcerate me for throwing a wrapper on the street, you'd be like, that's ridiculously over the top, crazy, you know, enforcement for something. At most, if I'm littering, you should give me a fine or something, right? But some people will say, yeah, but look at the streets of Singapore. There's zero litter for that reason. No one even thinks to litter because it's just not part of their society, because they know that there's consequences for their actions. I think ultimately in life, it's about finding that happy medium of compromise, right? I'm currently living in Washington State. We have the highest theft rate of any state in the United States. I'm not kidding. The statistic was published about 2 weeks ago that of every state in the United States, we have the most theft anywhere. Right now, if I go to any retail store, you can identify 10 people in the store with backpacks and duffel bags, and all they're literally doing is walking around till no one's looking, and they just fill the bag and they walk right out the door. And no one does anything about it. The cops don't show up. No one stops them. It's just allowed. That's how bad it's gotten here. We got situations where people are getting into giant public fights at local malls and shopping centers. Our local mall twice in the last few months was shut down completely and evacuated because of groups of teenagers breaking out into public fights And basically what happened was the cops showed up, broke up the fight, closed the mall. No one got arrested. Everyone's just let off. I think at one point they actually found a teenager had a gun. That he could have shot a bunch of people. Was anything done? No. That's how it is out here, okay? We're kind of the polar opposite of Singapore. Even if you get arrested, chances are, unless it's a really serious criminal offense, like heavy drug charges, assault, murder, anything like that, unless it's that, you're just going to get right. Oh, you go to jail? All right, you're out within a day. That's it. That's our system. Even today, if you're caught in the act of committing a crime, if you get in a car and you drive away, the cops are not legally allowed to follow you. All they can do is take down your information and try to catch you later. Maybe go to your house. Yeah, right. Like if you just got publicly caught committing a crime, are you going home? What are you, stupid? Of course not. But that's what I mean. That's our system here. So you could totally see that's the opposite of what they have in Singapore. Is that acceptable? Some people here think it is, but we've had a big movement here in Washington State in the last couple of years. People have had enough. Businesses are literally closing down and going out of business. There's actually a criminal ring. Here's what they do. They steal a car. They go at night, in the middle of the night. They drive into the double glass doors of any business. It could be a retail store. It could be a bank. It could be a drugstore. They've actually started doing it to the marijuana dispensaries out here. The places that give out medical marijuana because it's legal in Washington. They just drive right in the doors. They run in the store. They loot. They run right out the door. And they've been doing entire rings of this, where then they take those things they've stolen and they go to this house. And this house looks like a normal house from the outside. It's actually wall-to-wall stolen materials. And they have a criminal ring in there who they pay the thieves money for stealing, and then they take those items and they sell them online on the black market. And they've been making millions of dollars doing this in Washington State. They just busted a couple of them this last year. It was actually exposed. They were exposed and caught, and they shut down one of their rings, okay? So now you can see the polar opposites, right? In Singapore, everything is so extreme that no one would ever think to do something like that. Because if you were probably caught in one of those criminal rings, you'd probably be incarcerated for the rest of your life. Really. They're probably like life imprisonment. You millions of dollars, you're involved in this criminal ring, go to jail forever. No one will ever see you ever again, right? Now, does that punishment fit the crime? That's up for you to debate. Personally, I think that is extreme. I think that but at the same time, how many times do they have massive thievery rings in Singapore? How often? Not very often. Why? Because the punishment's so extreme, no one fucks around. So at what level of society do you want to live in, right? Is there a happy medium? That's really where the debate is. Like for me, I can see both sides. And I would argue that right now I'm living on one of the extremes and I don't like it. I don't want to live in a place where right now, if I just wanted to take my wife and go to downtown Seattle, I would not feel safe. There's constant crime, fighting, thieves, holdups all over Seattle. And right now, tons of businesses have closed down, including giant ones like Target. Yes, that giant retail chain Target closed stores in downtown Seattle that have been there for decades because no one's stopping the crime. They just said, forget it. We're just closing the locations. So that's what I mean. No one's immune to this. So I'm seeing it from one level of extreme. Perhaps if I lived in Singapore, I would see it from the opposite level of extreme. And I'd be like, well, maybe that's not good either. I don't know. I can only see from the one perspective in which I live. I feel like we need to make positive changes here because everyone here in Washington State is very upset with how things are being run and wants change. So will that change ever come? I don't know. But that's my take. Like, my take is maybe we need more extreme stuff here in the United States. On the flip side of that, maybe Singapore's too extreme. I wouldn't know because I don't live there. Certainly all I know is from Slayer, I get his take and he thinks it's good. So what can I say, right? But damn, do things need to not be extreme one way? If anything, what we're seeing is the extremes don't work. You can't have extreme one way, extreme the other. You got to find that happy medium where the sacrifice of personal freedoms is worth the safety, correct? So there you go. I have another question to answer. He says, hey, hello, Phil. Happy New Year 2024. This is not Slayer. This is somebody else, by the way. I have to ask what you think about vegan and vegetarian foods like fake meat and plant milk. What do you think of their increase in popularity despite being less nutrient dense than real meat? I remember your speech from your 3 Houses playthrough in 2020 on how vegan lifestyles still kill living beings despite vegans seeking to avoid that with their lifestyle. Huh? I don't remember that. Vegans would counter that with the indirect suffering of animals and humans through vegan farming, harmful as it may be, is a better alternative to the direct and intentional suffering inflicted on animals to produce large quantities of meat. Your thoughts? Oh, I see what you're saying. So I guess what he's saying is, in a playthrough that I did, I said, what's the difference between killing animals for meat or killing plants to still eat? Because either you're killing something alive to eat. You have to. We can't eat dirt and survive. We have to be eating something that's living in order to continue to live, correct? Or something that was alive, kill it, prepare it, and then eat it. So I think that's what I was saying is, maybe the argue sentience. I don't know. Here's the thing. All right? I want you to understand that when I criticize anything like this, it's coming from a particular perspective. I can tell you I've eaten vegetarian food and I like it. Like, for example, I've grown to be very appreciative of Indian food in the last several years. Like I said, the last 4 or 5 years of my life, my wife and I have tried different kinds of Indian food. And if we actually order from an Indian restaurant, usually I go for vegetarian. I'll go for like a curry that's like cauliflower, carrots, potatoes, chickpeas, regular peas. I'll get that. And that's great. It tastes amazing. And even though there's no heavy protein in there, it's still enough sustenance, you know, for me. And it's amazing. You know, I can understand people who can live that lifestyle. As long as you're preparing the food and it tastes great, yeah, you could probably live easily on a vegan or a vegetarian diet, albeit you might have to find some alternatives. Like I said, chickpeas, other things to be replacing the animal proteins, right, in your diet. But there's a difference between, I feel, like, okay, so I am eating vegan or vegetarian because of health issues. I think it's healthier, and overall I want to stay away from animal proteins and fat because I think for health this is better for you, okay? You have a right to believe whatever you want. I don't know if there's scientific fact proving that statement or not. But if that's your belief and you only want to eat certain things, you have the right to control your diet, right? But for me, these people that try to stand on moral high horses about it, oh, well, you see, I'm a vegan. I don't eat animals. I'm so much better than everyone else because I care about animals so much more. I hate to tell you this. The vast majority of things that we use in our lives likely either involve some kind of the death of some kind of an animal or are a direct byproduct of the existence of said animal living in a captive life to specifically produce that product for our consumption. You understand? These people want to believe these fairy tales that my whole life is controllable and everything around me, I can completely stay away from the use of animal products and things. That's bullshit. That's not even possible in any way, shape, or form. These people that like to have these moral control over everything. Oh, I'm so much superiority complex. I'm so much better than you because I drive my electric car, right? And I compost all my shit when you don't, and I freaking eat vegan. Good for you. Live that lifestyle if you want. But then to hold it against everyone else is pretty darn stupid in my opinion. Health reasons, hey, you believe it's healthy? Go ahead. Be vegetarian, be vegan. Being holier than thou, that's fucking played out. And pretty stupid too, if you actually look at the science of things. So, that's my take on it. Okay, that's the Q&A questions for this week. We got through them. Hope you guys enjoyed the answers. All right. And now, it is time to continue. Here we go. Let's continue. Let's see what the next video is.
湯山真也と申します。私は元ヤクザの組員で、
Really?
逮
A
捕歴
real
は
life
11
former
回。
Yakuza.
これから話すことは犯罪の仕組みです。
Damn, this is probably super interesting, especially because we just played Like a Dragon Gaiden and we're about to play Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The problem is it's 18 minutes long. Sadly, I don't really think that this video is going to be very good for this show because of the format, you know? Like, I would be fascinated to watch this, but I don't even know if we'll get far enough in. You know what I mean? To get enough out of it. I'll just watch a minute or two of it just to see what's up front here.
要はどこかのその境でヤクザのその美徳というものが暴力とか仁義であったり筋であったりそういったものから少しこう変わってきた時代があるんですよ。そして今はほとんどが昇格のポイントになるのはお金をどれだけ上に上げてるかっていうのが今。
So it's not about money, status, honor. It's now about just money, 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 how much money you bring into the organization. It's all business now.
の現状です。だから僕は例えば組長時代に僕の代わりに刑務所にいた人間もいます。 お金を稼ぐことばかり考えてたので、まあ今考えると良くないなというふうには思いますね。
Okay.
私がヤクザに入ったのは、
Damn, he's only
18歳の時です。
That young.
大工さんの仕事をしてた時に、心臓と腰をやってしまって、で、その時に、金融の仕事をしたかったんですね。で、その金融の仕事をしたところが、
just like Yakuza 4, right? Loan sharks.
金融で僕の組長がいたところだった。組長から杯というものをもらいます。そしてその杯の中にお酒を入れて、そして3度に分けて飲むんですね、その杯を。こういう形でグッグッグッ。これで、儀式が終わります。そしてその儀式が終わった時点で親と子、子分と親分というものが成立します。ヤクザに入った時点で、組織に対して、名前を登録します。そしてその名前が登録された時点で組織の方にはその名前が登録されちゃうんで、警察が家宅捜査に入った時、その時に名前が割れてしまうんですね。警察の、本部の方に登録をされて、ヤクザの認定というふうな形になります。
All right. So this is fascinating, but it's going to be way too long. Maybe we can re-explore this in the future. Maybe, for this year, I've asked you guys what kind of content would you like to see me do a little different on this channel. Maybe instead of always doing these shorter clip shows, we can maybe add in a week once a month where we do longer form reacting. And maybe this could be a great video for that kind of thing. I would like to watch the whole thing and react because I'm not going to sit here for 20 minutes on a clip show, I do like this video, though. I recommend it.
The Catholic Church, the church leaders of the Catholic Church in Germany, mate, if I grab one of those bishops, I'll shred them to pieces.
Wow. Okay.
For being proud and displaying their rainbow flag on their churches. Shame on such leaders.
Who is this guy? A German Catholic Church's LGBTQ plus revolution progress unveiled? You guys know me. I'm not into religion. I don't know anything about a disagreement within the Catholic Church about this topic at all. So watch a little more. I don't know anything. I can't even comment on it, right? I don't know what's going on.
And I'm not
there.
talking about the Catholic Church. Please, I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying out of context. I love the Catholic Church. The Church is holy when the Church adheres to the teachings of the Messiah and his disciples. The Church is holy. But the moment the Church veers off, even if it's me, then shame on me too. You call yourself bishops, church leaders? Since when the Catholic Church embraced rainbow flags? You fools, you cowards, you traitors. Judas Iscariot is a saint compared to you.
Again, I'm not aware of this. I don't know. I don't know what the current standing is in the Catholic Church. The Pope himself recently said something about like blessing homosexual couples or something like that. But they're still not saying that he's allowing like gay marriage. That's not allowed in the Catholic Church, but he would still bless like gay people's relationships. I don't get it. I'm so out of the loop on this topic that I feel like even if you're watching this video, I can't really say anything that sounds semi-intelligent. So I think we're just going to move on. Oh, this is it.
Now, Tetris.
Guys, this is the response of a Sky News anchor to the story we watched earlier. Earlier, we watched the story of this kid who hit the Tetris record and broke the game, beat the game. This is a Sky News, this is Britain, right? Anchor. Here's her response to the story. Are you ready?
Now, Tetris has long been touted as a video game that just can't be beaten because it just goes on and on. Well, 13-year-old American Willis Gibson has technically proven that wrong. He beat the original Nintendo version of the game by reaching such a high level that the coding froze I left the program unable to generate any more falling blocks. As a mother, I would just say step away from the screen, go outside, get some fresh air. Beating Tetris is not a life goal. Speaking of fresh air, let's get a look at the weather.
Wow. What a nice impartial anchor for the news, right? So basically, she completely discredits anything in the story whatsoever. Like, are you not aware that you work at the news station and the news station has selected this story to be something of worth to be presented on your broadcast? So your bosses disagree with you, yet you're just going to say that publicly, right? Like, why does she even do that? Like, why would you do that? Doesn't even make sense. Even if that's her personal opinion. Maybe she has kids because she said as a mother, right? So maybe as a mother, her kids play video games and her kids waste a lot of time playing fucking Fortnite or something like that. And she thinks it's just a big waste of time and money. Even if that's her personal opinion on the subject, does she have a right to just spout that out on a public news broadcast that's supposed to be covering this as an actual story of importance? Like, why would she even say that? It's fucked up, right? You know? And by the way, it's 2024. Hold on. Knock, knock. 2024 is at your house, mum. And just to notify you that video games are the biggest form of entertainment on the planet. They bring in more money than movies, music, and television combined. More people play video games than any other entertainment medium on Earth. And you think that a kid beating a video game, the first in the world in this method, is not important or any kind of a goal. Well, what are your goals exactly? To do the same thing everyone else does, to pump out a couple of kids and yell at them about playing Fortnite? Maybe if you did something in your life that was worth accomplishing, people would be talking about it on the news too. Do you ever think about that? Instead of you imposing your very ridiculous opinion onto someone else and no one gives a shit, right? So maybe try accomplishing something for yourself before you shit on others' accomplishments, you fucking bitch. Okay, let's continue.
Momentum is building to fix one of the most corrupt aspects of American healthcare.
The Biden administration is announcing the first batch of prescription drugs that will be subject to new price negotiations with Medicare.
The Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed last year, lets Medicare negotiate on prices for the first time ever.
Medicare's new negotiating ability will lower prices for 10 million American seniors with heart disease, blood cancer, and diabetes.
Interesting.
It's expected to save taxpayers $102 billion in the next 10 years. There's just one problem. The pharmaceutical industry is going to war to stop it from happening.
The pharmaceutical industry?
Oh, that's not surprising at all. Are you kidding me? Something that actually would help people in healthcare? Well, of course the pharmaceutical industry wants to be... No, we can't make as much money now. We have to fight it. We have to argue, right? And by the way, just for the record, someone in chat said, oh, she's at the top of her field. She's a news anchor on Sky News. She's completely replaceable. In a finger snap like this, they could remove her from that desk and get someone else in that spot, and no one would fucking notice. That's the point I'm making here. She's not the first in her field. She didn't do anything special. She's just there to shit on others' accomplishments because she thinks she's high and mighty, right? Oh, an American child did something in video games? Fuck you. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, in this case, are you surprised that we now have a new law that makes it that insurance or these middlemen companies that pay for healthcare for Americans are going to negotiate better prices for the American healthcare system? But the pharmaceutical companies are upset. Wait a minute. But we can't keep rolling in record profits for every single drug we pump out if you take away our profits. What are you doing? Right? What a surprise that this would be happening. Oh, what did I do? No, I fucking went backwards.
Cancel the program.
Calling the drug pricing provisions in the IRA unconstitutional, a sham, tantamount to extortion.
So there is a lot of money at stake here.
There are now almost 10 lawsuits from drug companies and lobbying groups aiming to block Medicare's new negotiating power. And the thing is, when you start reading through them, it becomes really clear that these arguments, they're pretty much seriously. No one expects them to win on the actual merits. But despite that, the pharmaceutical industry could actually stop negotiations from happening through a coordinated legal strategy that aims to get just one lawsuit in front of the Supreme Court. Let's take a look at how Democrats' efforts to rein in just blatant profiteering have sparked a full-on legal war with some of the most powerful corporations in America.
I mean, we don't even have to watch the rest of the video. It's self-explanatory, right? In the United States, okay, sadly, our healthcare system is dictated by the companies that make drugs and or those who will most stand to benefit from the cost of healthcare. So investors into the system, okay? That's why when we go to the doctor, like I actually just saw a meme about this. And no, I didn't turn captions on again. It's automatic. Obviously, YouTube is screwed up today. I just saw a meme about this, that a father had a heart attack. He went to the hospital. He was admitted to the hospital for 1 week. They treated his heart attack. He went home, and they gave him a $103,000 bill. Now he's left to argue with his insurance company on how much they're going to pay and how much he owes. Likely, this is debilitating and will ruin his life. How do you afford a $103,000 bill out of nowhere that there's no way you can pay? Correct? Now, what do you think that bill is going to really pay? Do you really think it cost $103,000 for this guy's week of treatment? It's gross overbilling, and it's because our system's broken. We have health insurance companies. We have giant pharma companies. We have healthcare provider middlemen companies. We have all this thing that our whole system in the United States is set up for money. Literally, the entire thing is to print money. It's one of the most profitable things in the country is healthcare. Why? Should it be? Morally, does it even make sense? Just to keep people healthy and alive, you have to be rolling in a profits? Like, what is that? Even the whole oath of a doctor, right? What is that? Is it the Hippocratic Oath or whatever it is called? You know, they're supposed to do no harm and only help people. But literally, the moment that they provide the healthcare, you could be ruining someone's life because they're in financial turmoil for the rest of their life now, right? So our system is so based on this that we now have our government involved in it. And our government, in some cases, says this is ridiculous. We need to change this so that people don't have their lives ruined because they had a health problem. So they are having this Medicare, which is one of the government-funded health systems. You will negotiate the price of healthcare with these pharma companies so that they can't just dictate the market anymore and just overcharge and ruin people's lives. But of course, pharma, oh no, you can't do that because then we can't be profitable anymore, right? Well, maybe your system's corrupt and broken and never should have been based on ruining people's lives. Did you ever think about that? Before you decided to become insanely huge, bloated, and rolling in dough. Like, that's what I mean. It's crazy, but it's just acceptable, right? To our country, that this is just normal business, right? And it's not just pharma, it's everything else too. All these major corporations are so profitable and rolling in money, and anything that could possibly take away some of that, they rally against. And what do? Like he just said, they go to Capitol Hill, they go to DC, and they lobby. They go to our senators and they go to our, representatives and they say, hey, just so you know, there's this bill that just passed that now apparently, Medicaid or Medicare, I forgot what it was, is going to debate with us over the price of, the drugs. Fuck that. Shoot that down, right? Get it out of there. So that way we keep making more money. And by the way, if you do that, we're just going to happen to give you some money for your next campaign to get reelected. And by the way, we're going to give you all these kickbacks, a timeshare you can go on vacation to, and all these benefits. You could come and talk at our pharmaceutical company and do a public speech, and we're going to pay you $500,000 to do the speech. This is how our government works. It's completely corrupted. And there's people who've been trying to end this for years and years and say we have to stop lobbying because these companies are evil, and they're actually doing these horrible things to maintain the power they have. But no one shuts it down. The lobbying continues, and our government is still controlled by that. Now what they're finding, even worse than this, is investments. So now our actual people in power are making financial investments based on info they should not have. Info that in some cases is dictated by their own laws they're making. So imagine you make a law that you know is going to benefit a company, and the company is going to probably make a lot of money because you're making a law. So then you invest in the company. And then you pass the law. So immediately, because you passed the law, you benefit from it. That's what's happening right now in our government in the United States. I don't know about other countries how it works. Here, it is super corrupted. Yet, American citizens just kind of sit around like, well, we can't do anything to change it. Pharma's just one part of it. It's pretty fucked up. And I would watch this whole video, except I kind of already know what he's going to say about how the pharmaceutical companies want to retain their profits, and so what they're going to do, they're going to flood everything with lawsuits until finally one lawsuit goes to the Supreme Court, and hope that because the Supreme Court right now is dominated by more conservative justices, that they're going to side with Big Pharma, and so they're going to strike down all these changes and make it so that they can make record profits again. And they're going to hope that there's enough of these Supreme Court justices that make money off of Big Pharma that they're going to want to do that. So I don't even need to watch the rest of the video. It's pretty sad. And that's DSPolitics preview. DSPolitics launching, I don't know. I'm sure we're going to eventually get to it, just not right now. Okay? All right. It's time to split the part and come back with the finale to DSP versus the internet. Thank you all for a great show this week, and I'll be back shortly with the final videos. See you then.